Davina,
Cody.
welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Big gap. Big gap.
Felt slightly threatening.
Yeah, it did feel slightly threatening.
Slightly threatening.
We've got off to a bad start. However, Davina, I want to get the big question out of the way first.
Yes.
Welcome to the Truth in My Opinion. Are you a newsy person, Davina?
I think so. I'm not I don't think I'm a politics newsy person.
Okay.
So I'm not that person.
Yeah.
I'm not a news junkie in a political way, but I think I am a news person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You write for things like Dead Ringers,
Yeah.
Radio 4, which requires you to be a newsy person. You've got to be plugged into...
You've got to read the news if you're writing for Dead Ringers. You can't not read the news
can't
and
not
then
read the
turn up to Dead Ringers being like, there's a by-election in Makersfield. You're not allowed to do that. They hate that.
It's Makerfield, it's not Makersfield, but...
Well, why don't you just fucking write for Dead Ringers then?
Yeah, I mean, you might be able to get away with like a David Attenborough sketch.
Actually, really embarrassed. No, it's just actually it's probably a dyslexia thing. So you're probably shaming me for being dyslexic.
You can't just reverse your mistake and put the pressure on me now and make me feel bad.
I'm a woman. Switcheroo. Now you feel bad. Yeah.
Okay, but
Yeah.
you're sort of, when you're writing for Radio 4, you're into the news, but then otherwise you're not.
I think no. I'll put it higher than that.
Okay.
I do enjoy reading the newspaper. I'm so sorry, I've had 2 hours sleep. I do read news. I like news.
Yeah.
I also get that little dopamine hit when there's an interesting article. And I probably check
Okay.
it too many times a day.
Okay. Well, you sound like a newsy person.
Yeah, I'm a newsy person.
Okay.
Oh,
well-
yeah, and I listen to all the political podcasts.
Of course
Sorry, I've just
you
remembered.
do.
Of course I do, because I parody them.
Listen, I think this
Just
is...
remembered. I've just remembered what I do.
This exactly happens to me as well, where someone asks me a question, I say, no, absolutely not. And then I think about how my entire identity is that thing they've just asked me
Right,
about.
but you can't call them back and be like, so,
Yeah.
before when I said, I actually do speak French and I lived in France, I just forgot, sorry.
That's a great example. Yeah, do you speak French? No. Davina, I assume you understand what is going to happen in this podcast. I am going to put you in charge of the news.
Yeah.
You have brought me 4 fantastic headlines, and we're going to get the plug out early. What I want you to do firstly is to deliver the headline you have brought for our Patreon subscribers.
Millionaire banker held by police in hunt for Putney pusher, rearrested after Class A drugs found at mansion.
That's a fantastic Emily Maitlis. Thank you. Okay, well, there you go. So we're dealing with a cold case. We're dealing with a cold case with some serious developments this week over on Patreon. So if you would like to listen to that, then you can head to the Truth in My Opinion podcast over on Patreon and subscribe for £5 a month. Davina, we now move on to the main body of the podcast. Could you please deliver your first headline?
Law firm slammed by judge over junior lawyer's AI blunder.
Okay. Firstly, tell me what this story is, because I'm not going to lie,
okay.
I didn't really understand it.
Okay, so I'll just kind of explain it as simply as I can because... Okay, what's the best way to explain it? This made the legal press, didn't really make the mainstream press, but it's such an interesting story. So there was a young lawyer who worked for a really good law firm, and he wrote a letter to a judge. The context is an insolvency case, so not the most interesting area.
Yes.
But he's a junior lawyer, he's probably a few years qualified, and he writes a letter to a judge. In the letter, he cites an authority that isn't real. He points to a judicial authority. He tells the judge, look at this authority, but it isn't real. So the judge reads the letter and thinks, this is an AI hallucination. Something really dodgy is going on.
Okay.
The young lawyer writes a second letter, and instead of saying, look, I really messed up, I hold my hands up, I used AI and it hallucinated an authority that isn't real, he doubled down. And so the judge was like, okay, this is ridiculous. The young lawyer gets in trouble, but not that much trouble. And then the person that gets in trouble is the female partner in charge of him. It's basically, there's this thing called AI hallucinations.
Yes.
Where, I don't know if you get this in other areas of AI, but it will start to make things up.
Yes. Well, I think that there's the most kind of maybe high profile AI hallucination recently was the old Reform UK candidate for Gorton and Denton, Matthew Goodwin. Yeah. He's written a book. After that, and a lot of people were saying actually a lot of the stuff in that book, 1, he wrote it incredibly quickly, and 2, there's lots of different facts that aren't quite real, and that people accuse him of basically using AI to write his book, AI Hallucinations. That's why they call him Matt GPT.
Oh, very good.
Bit of fun.
It's very good. It is a good bit of fun. And also fun rhyming.
Yes, very fun rhyming. It's almost like he was meant to use AI. It was always
meant to be. Yeah, it
totally
totally works. I guess there's something about the fact that it's law, like all that. Yeah. Also, I think this was the law firms. So lots of law firms have their own version of that you can use, but it's the kind of doubling down instead of just holding his hands up.
Yeah.
I just think it's extraordinary because also it's a young lawyer at a really good firm.
Yeah.
He just needed to, look at what the actual rule was, but to cite a bullshit rule to a judge, it's just such cheek. It's such chutzpah. And also it's interesting because it's happening more and more. I think there was a case in Mississippi really recently where 4 lawyers were using AI hallucinations.
Yes.
So I think that's what's interesting.
Well, the main thing that struck me as I was like, because we talk about AI a lot on this podcast and how shit it is. Rosalie Minute brought a few weeks ago, she brought a story about kind of this, the way AI is kind of changing workplace dynamics. It was sort of a mad story where the really focus should be on the fact that these teenage boys were having AI girlfriends. But anyway, that's a different story. But
wow, someone's got favourites.
There's
Sorry, I bought
no
a legal. I'm sorry, the law exists.
No, this is why it's interesting, because basically what you're saying is it's kind of AI is now sort of so prevalent in the world that like even lawyers doing incredibly boring things like insolvency cases are using AI that hallucinate laws that aren't real, right? Because that's what's happened.
It hallucinated an authority, and I guess the idea that instead of just double checking, instead of going, oh yeah, that must be an authority, and just double checking in any kind of like good online legal source, or checking even in a book, if you can imagine such a thing, check the insolvency rules, instead just not checking of it.
Yes.
I think that's if this is how people do things, because I do think AI is good for some things.
Yeah.
But the hallucination thing, I just think is so extraordinary because I suppose because it's based on the probability, this is my understanding, that it's what is the most common response next. That's what the hallucination is, right?
Oh, I see.
So it literally is almost like a probability of it's just pulling out letters. Well, what most commonly is the letter after that. So it's like bullshitting. Like the hallucination of itself is quite interesting.
Yes.
I want to know what it said. I mean, it would obviously be like a really good, I'm not necessarily good, it would be an impression of a legal authority.
So yes.
Oh, it's so embarrassing. It's so embarrassing. Oh yeah, it happened in America as well.
There's the very brief timeline, if I can just get our ducks in a row. So what happened? So I don't want to just keep going over it, but I'm not a legal man, and I don't know AI. So this case, a junior lawyer had to consult this law, and he then basically asked ChatGPT what this law said.
I don't think it's ChatGPT. I think it was the firm's internal legal. But
AI.
I don't know what the underlying...
It's a great correction. The firm's internal AI, he said, what does this statute say? What does this law say? AI then said, oh, it says this, but you should probably double check this. He didn't double check it.
We don't, theoretically, but we don't know what his input was. His input could have been write a letter to the court that says X, and then the AI could have spewed out. You could put in anything.
Oh, I see.
But, so we don't know what his input was. But either way, whatever your input is, maybe check your output.
That's a good lesson, isn't it? But what's funny is that, like you say, the judge was like, the fuck is this, guys? And they were like, yeah, no, it's like a summary. So, because he was like, this doesn't exist.
It's a summary conclusion.
It's a summary conclusion.
So I think, without, as I often make things very, it's so masculine. It just feels like there's... I'm watching too many Love Island clips, and I've not slept enough.
I feel like we're sort of on
quite
an Indeed podcast right now. We're talking about. I don't think I've ever said summary conclusion in my life.
Until now.
And
now it's all you're going to say thereafter. He was just, he was bullshitting. Instead of saying, I used AI and it was a false authority that does not exist. Instead to double down and go, I was actually summarising different conclusions from different sources. It's like, mate, you're talking to a judge. But I just think...
Did you see the thing about that response to the judge being like, guys, I think this isn't real, was also AI?
Right, so you've gone back to the source. That's what's so amazing. The chutzpah of this kid. He's gone back to the fountain.
I mean, who is this man? He can't be a lawyer. He must have bullshitted his way into a law firm, and now he's panicking.
Really good
and he's thinking, how the fuck do I don't know what a statute is. He's asking the internal AI. It's spewing back stuff. He's sending it to the judge. The judge is coming back to him saying, I think this is bullshit. He's panicking. He's AI generating another letter. And now the judge is furious, and the firm has had to report themselves to the solicitor's regulatory authority.
Right. So I think this is a lot like in Love Island when one of the men do something bad.
Yes.
Just hold your hands up and say, I kissed blah blah in the, the hideaway.
I see.
I think accountability.
Yeah.
saying you did something wrong, immediately, if he'd have immediately said to the partner in charge, who was the one that was named, which I do think is sort of unfair, but, she was a female partner who has been named because she was overseeing him.
Oh my God.
We don't know his name.
He's lawyer A.
He's lawyer A, right? Or LA. Like, come on.
That's crazy. Okay. So basically, Davina, what you're saying is this is both an AI story. It's about how AI is kind of infiltrating our legal system, but ultimately at its heart is sort of male arrogance.
You know it. And indeed,
it's
all
male
news.
Arrogance. So, do you know? Did his female partner, that's a law term, partner, not real life partner? Do you know if they faced any consequences, or they're just the ones that have been named?
I think she had. I mean, I don't think she's lost her job, but she was named, which in of itself.
Yes, a bit dodgy, that, isn't it?
It just feels a little. I mean, I don't.
Why are they naming her?
Well, I suppose why are they naming her, not him? I suppose because she was the partner in charge and he's a junior lawyer. I really felt for her. But the idea that she's being so measured as to be like, could you just talk me through this law? As opposed to like, you are absolutely making this up.
Yes.
It's just that, honestly, the arrogance of it. It's a Joe and the Juice. Am I going too far to say it's a Joe and the Juice version of like, I just have, I would just love to know what was going through that person's head. I have questions.
Okay.
I have questions.
Well, Davina, as a lawyer, do you use AI in your law?
Never, because of hallucinations. Also,
So it is something that just happens quite a lot, the hallucination thing.
So because I work as a locum lawyer, I work at different firms, my understanding from associate friends who going to be partner tracked, going up that route from associate to senior, I'm such a boomer in law that, because so much has changed since I've kind of removed myself from being a full-time litigator who's an associate. When I was coming up, there was no law firm AI, right? That didn't exist.
Yeah.
So all of these young associates, and I'm sure there's fantastic things in them, but they're all being, law firms have their own internal AI.
Yes.
So it's obviously fine to an extent, and I'm sure they're being really highly trained about how to use it.
Yeah.
This story excluded. But, I didn't, we would go and have to. I sound like my dad or someone saying like, we used to have to go to the library.
Yes, you had to read a book.
But we did have to go and find the citations. We did have to go and find them and find the original source and open the civil procedure rules.
But I mean, this is yet another example to add to the list of why AI is fucking shit. Like, I imagine the law firm are like, okay, well, we can cover a lot more cases because we have this ability to sort of use this technology to help sift through information and give us the information, like you say, rather than going to the library. But it's fucking shit. Davina, thank you so much for an excellent first headline. If you could please now deliver your second headline.
Utterly appalling anger over swimmers in Hampstead Heath wildlife ponds.
You sound like a Hampstead Heath resident.
Yeah,
Definitely.
Really cross.
Really cross. Hampstead Heath wildlife ponds. So this is actually I was saying this to you as you were arriving. This is a story about the last heat wave.
Yep.
However, we have another heat wave on the way. So this story is actually going to be relevant in a few days' time. Davina, what is the story?
What isn't the story? Okay, so it's as simple as in Hampstead Heath, there's some wildlife ponds.
Yes.
Separate to the swimming ponds. And during the last heat wave, which I guess was a couple of weeks ago, people started swimming in that pond, on the wildlife pond. But there were swans and cygnets, and it was a protected wildlifey bird pond. And there are signs that say, please don't swim in here.
Yes.
And people, I didn't see them, but I think I was there maybe the next day. I walked past it with some friends because we'd just come back from the ladies' ponds where you're allowed to swim. And my friend went, oh, people were swimming in there yesterday. And I was outraged.
You were outraged.
Because it's a wild, like, people probably spend so much time and money and care looking after the wildlife and the swans and their bait. Like, you don't... I'm getting really cross even thinking about it. And I know I sound like a cross sort of like Hampstead...
No.
And look, can I say the counterpoint, which is in the article that we both read?
Yes.
So the counterpoint, which was by a barrister and campaigner,
Yeah.
was what do you expect when you've got, there's no Lidos, all the Lidos have been shut, and it's a really hot day, and something he said it's and the only ponds are in the wealthiest borough. I don't...
Yes.
And also saying an all water, the sewage pollution, totally get that's an issue, but I think that might be a separate issue.
Yeah, so
I think it's a bit of a conflation there.
I mean, on the surface, this is kind of exactly what you expect when it gets hot. It's the same sort of people that, when it's 18 degrees, someone whips their top off and they're walking around Tesco and you think, I don't really want to see this. You don't
need to see your nipples, sir.
Exactly. But it was very hot, 35 degrees. And as you say, there are ponds in Hampstead Heath with signs that say no swimming because there were all of these little cygnets and moorhens and whatever they were just hatched. They just hatched their eggs. And then a bunch of fucking hipsters head in, they dive into the water, and it was just chaos with all of these swans basically getting scared and all of these swan eggs floating about.
Actually, I'm too pain. I'll actually start crying. Mum picked up her little egg.
Yes. Well, basically, as you'd expect, when you scare a wild animal, they don't. Well, it's not that they don't care about their egg, but they fuck off, and then they leave the egg or their little chick, and they starve to death. And so, the reason this is so outrageous is because it was so obvious that you shouldn't be swimming there. However, as you've already delivered a counterpoint, which is that, 35 degrees Celsius, I imagine the actual swimming ponds were heaving. People needed to cool down. And I'm not excusing it.
No. I see. Look, mitigate. That is the context.
But this is a consequence, as you just said, as all of these lidos and public baths and other kind of bathing areas across the UK that have been closing down over the decades. This is what happens when people don't think right when they're hot. People don't fucking think right.
It's so hot, but there's something. Okay, so I think the wider context, this is some real North London intel, is on the exact same day that it was the hottest day, which is the day this happened, the Lido, Parley Hill Lido, which is a huge big Lido, shut because there was a fight. It was pretty horrible. There was a fight. Some kids were in the queue, some under 16s. They waited for 2 hours and then they didn't get in. And then apparently they smashed up the car of the woman who works there. I heard this from two separate people. We triangulated. So the Lido was shut. People were queuing. So I think that's already hundreds of people.
It's chaos.
It's chaos. Oh, you think violence is funny? I don't find any violence based around the Lido funny. So that was maybe the context, is that people really had been queuing for the Lido and then walked, the 15 minutes to this. But there's something so individualistic and selfish and just that, of course, and because I walked past it I think it was the same day. Yeah, it was the same day. I'd just come from the ladies' pond, queued for half an hour. Didn't think we were getting get in, but we got in. And also, we're going slightly bananas because we were so sweaty and hot. And then when we walked past them, my mate went, "Oh, people have been swimming there. I saw them." And then I felt like slightly conflicted because on the one hand, I was like, "Yeah, anarchy." And the other bit was like, "No, it's a fucking wildlife pond."
Yeah, I would never have thought you would have gone anarchy.
Yeah, because well, just like the teenager in me that would do things perhaps like...
Were you pissed off that you didn't think about it?
I suppose for a split
second, you're like, I should have gone in there.
Well, the pictures looked like they took pictures of people having the time of their life. A girl looking incredible in a bikini, I'm going to say, was the main shot.
Yeah, Vogue were there.
Well, do you joke? But if these pictures were like young, attractive people having the time, it's also a beautiful pond.
Yeah.
And it had never even crossed my little conformist, authority-fearing mind that you could swim in it. And no, you can't swim in it.
You can't swim in it.
You can't swim in it.
You can't swim in it. But, so one of the main people who were filming this chaos were called, did you see this?
No.
Hampstead Heath Swans. They're an Instagram group, I imagine populated entirely by sort of middle-aged women who live in Hampstead Heath.
Who were Radio 4 producers.
Producers.
They're all lesbians,
All lesbians. They love, but they all have husbands. They love a fucking swan.
Yeah.
And
I wish to join.
But they were the ones filming.
All of it.
And I went on their Instagram ahead of you coming on here, and it's all just beautiful pictures and videos of swans. And the only video that is obviously not this kind of cinematic nature documentary is this one day in Hampstead Heath. And they are just this poor woman who's doing the filming, who clearly every other day just goes and stands there and enjoys nature, is just getting absolutely abused by all of these teenagers. There's this one shot of this girl who's just flipping her off. She's paddling around in the pool, swan sort of cygnets and ducklings just flying about, and this girl's just flipping this woman off, and she's like, "You have to get out of the wildlife ponds." Chaos. Then the next day, back to bliss.
Oh, thank God for that. It wasn't like one more day.
No.
Oh, it's awful.
It was clearly a blip, but I'm so glad you brought it, because I think there's a big question here. This is like, absolutely the people who decided to, one, ignore I think possibly more importantly from a British perspective, ignore the fucking queues to the actual swimming ponds, right? Wait your turn.
They're next to
I know
they're literally next to each other. So that's
like, wait your turn. Join the queue and wait your turn. Don't go and fuck around with the swans. But anyway, they went around and they fucked about with the swans. But these big questions, Davina, like you say, shit in the rivers, Lido's closing down. The other big question is, there was no one enforcing the fact that you couldn't swim there. There was a sign, sure, but the police were too busy.
Because all the enforcement officers, genuinely, they have to have enforcement officers who are amazing, in my opinion, at the Lido now, because of this new under 16 rule, because of the fight and the thing that happened.
Oh my God, okay, so there is actually,
so they have enforcement.
Story.
Yeah, and they're great. I have to say, the thing that I love was with, God love the enforcement officers, but last year at the Lido, when it was boiling, there was a little naughty boy, he's probably like 15, and he was in the middle of the Lido, and then one enforcement officer was on one side, being like, coming out, enforcement officer on the other side, and he was just like, he was like running away. It was incredibly funny. He was taking the piss out of them, and then one of them was trying to like, it was just like a child who won't get out the swimming pool, but with two sort of semi-policemen and a cheeky 15-year-old, and then he ran off and legged it. It was absolutely hilarious.
This is it. This is what makes it so. This is what makes this a difficult moral quandary, Davina, because crime and criminal chaos around bodies of water can sometimes be quite funny. But but this, I'm sensing, is not.
This is not the time.
This is not the
time. You
time.
love swans dying. You love cygnet death.
You love.
You pick up an egg with a cygnet in.
Listen. Okay, I'm kind of worried I'm sounding like I'm on the side of the swimmers. I really am not.
Okay.
But this is going to, I wonder what procedures they're now putting in place to stop this from happening again.
Well, it's a system. Look, I know, without sounding like an old fuddy-duddy, I know this now becomes an issue of like these privileged women who probably bought their houses in the 1970s in Hampstead, in this like incredibly posh area of London, shouting at these teenagers. There is another bit of me, which is that everyone who is local knows that there's like the kiddie bit. Yeah. And on the same day I walked through the kiddie bit, and like half of North London is where the fountains are. It's like it's like basically mostly piss. But you know, all the kids are like playing in the fountainy bit by the park. So there is also like more water. It's not ideal. But sorry, what I'm saying is that I think there is that issue around sort of privilege obviously became an issue when people were citing that, oh, it's the wealthiest borough. However, you need systemic long-term things like Lidos and to prepare for the fact that temperatures are rising. The tube won't be usable.
Exactly.
But we're only heading in one direction.
Exactly.
So you either address it.
Totally.
But also, you know, equally.
I want to see fucking Buckingham Palace knocked down and they build a massive fucking pool. That's what we should have.
I would love. Look, where I am from, which is an amazing place called Finchley.
Yeah.
There was a famous Lido.
From Finchley recently.
Was it me?
Yeah, I think
Who
it
else
might have been you,
was it other comedians?
It's
kind of my thing.
I can't remember. I think it was you.
Because I'll kill them. But there was an incredible Lido that shut down, I think, in 1990, and it was so beautiful, and I only have a few memories from it. And then they replaced it with this like giant, big, weird sort of almost like American style thing, and they still called it Finchley Lido, but it's not, and like Warner Village.
What do you mean, like a sort of water park?
Just like a big sort of watery park with a bowling alley and a McDonald's, which is all great, but it wasn't this beautiful, almost like, in my head it's probably become idealized, but it was an incredibly beautiful like German style Lido, you know, like Brockwell Lido.
Yeah. I'm not really a Lido frequenter.
Okay, so this is really something you just don't give a shit about because it doesn't impact you. Why don't you go and swim with the cygnets and all the selfish people?
I don't need a Lido. I've got the wildlife ponds in Hampstead Heath. Davina, could you please now deliver your third and final headline of your news hour?
A smuggler tried to sell ancient coins to an antiques dealer. Then the Norwegian government stepped in.
Okay, took me by surprise.
Sorry, because it was in I think it was in Mechanic News.
Oh, I see.
So it was just a slightly sort of I can do it less nasally.
No, absolutely not. That was perfect. We love a bit of character. Tell me what the story is.
A Tunisian national tried to sell some ancient Carthaginian coins.
Yeah.
So they're like 2,200 years old. He tried to sell them to a Norwegian coin dealer.
Yeah.
But that Norwegian coin dealer was such a narc, he called the police, and then they instigated a sting operation.
Yes.
So I love the just the fact that there's the word sting operation used relating to these Carthaginian coins.
Yes.
Carthaginian?
Yeah,
from
like
Carthage.
Carthage.
From ancient Carthage.
Yes.
Why do I think it's so funny? I like that the article talked about the Libyan times. I don't know why I found that so amusing.
I love this story so much because basically you've just said what happened, which is a dodgy bloke had stolen some coins. He contacted an antiques dealer. The antiques dealer reported him to the police. Clearly the antique industry, the people, the community see this as like the greatest heist of all time. The way this article is written, it's just like all that happens is the police turn up and they arrest this guy. This article, like you said, they call it a sting. They're like, this Norwegian antiques dealer, like, he was scoping out with the police for weeks, arranging for this guy to meet him. And I think that literally a line in the thing is, the local police were waiting for him.
Yeah, isn't that amazing?
The local police were waiting for him.
Isn't that sweet? Like a little Norwegian police force.
Sweet.
Like, hello.
Well,
There's
yes,
the coins. They're not your coin.
If I were an antique, if I were the Tunisian man, I wouldn't go to Norway.
That's what's kind of weird is I wonder why he decided to sell them to a Norwegian dealer. Why go to Oslo?
Exactly. Because
they're all narcs. Everyone knows.
Exactly. Everyone knows of all of the nations on the planet, the Norwegians are the narcs.
But it does kind of... I mean, it sounds like there's loads of these coins that are all in the antique world.
Exactly. Well, this is the other... So this Tunisian guy who came over was arrested with 30. But actually what they think has happened is they've discovered a chest of coins with tens of thousands of them. And I think they've actually because in classic Norwegian narc fashion, when they arrested the Tunisian man, they allowed the University of Oslo to take a look at the coins, of course, which also is a hugely exciting chapter in the sting operation. A bunch of fucking academics looking at coins.
Do you want to look at these coins? Oh yes, no, I'd like to. Thank you.
So exciting! Yeah, it's amazing.
Look at these amazing coins. They really are. I think they've been waterlogged.
They are going to make a movie out of this soon. They're going to make a movie out of this one day with Vin Diesel. But they then discovered, investigating these coins, that actually loads of them are being sold elsewhere.
Right. So it sounds like, I think I'm right in saying, as you say, they think they're waterlogged, so they must have been underwater for centuries.
Yes.
So does that mean there's like a treasure trove?
Yeah.
Like a literal loot. Also, I know it's a tangential point. They're so pretty. They're in that style of Hercules,
nice.
Disney's Hercules, with like the curly whirly hair.
They are. Yes, yeah, they are.
I don't know what you call that style.
They're exactly
Disney
that.
Hercules. They're very chic.
They clearly. There's got to be some conspiracy around, Disney in the 2010s, sort of
being Carthaginian coin inspired.
Yeah, there's some, I don't know, tear in the space-time continuum because the Emperor's New Groove is one.
Oh yes,
coins.
It's in exactly the same aesthetic.
Yeah, exactly the same drawing style.
Some internet person will know. There'll be an exact term. It won't be like curly whirly. It'll be like curly whirly Roman or something.
Something like that.
Something like that.
There's Times New Roman on one of these coins. It's mad. Did you see it when they were like, when they were the University of Oslo people looking at it? They were like, they must have been minted at the same time.
Oh no, I thought that was quite interesting. Did you not? Because that means they're like from the Farrick. Is it Farrick War? No, I think
Punic
apparently
Wars.
Punic. Sorry,
Punic Wars.
Oh yeah, Punic victory.
Yes,
I know
exactly.
that's a real lawyer thing to say. Even though once someone wrote that in a letter to me when I was a junior lawyer. You could do that, but it would be a Punic victory.
So what Punic victory is what?
Oh my god, I meant Pyrrhic.
Pyrrhic.
I'm such an idiot.
Look at this. I hope
you have to cut all of that. That's so embarrassing. That's so embarrassing. I got Punic and Pyrrhic.
Oh, it was a Pyrrhic.
Never
victory.
work again.
But also the Pyrrhic Wars. Right?
Oh, I love them.
That's
those wars.
You can't. I'm not holding this against you, Davina. You've muddled up Punic and Pyrrhic
like a twat.
Like a twat, but that's completely
idiot.
So easy to do.
No, I feel a fool.
This is ironically a Pyrrhic victory for the Norwegian police because we're dealing with Punic coins that they only have 30 of, and those of them are actually being sold. So this is a Pyrrhic victory because it's a good news story that they found 30, but there are still 10,000 out there. Is that right?
As I understand, so loads are on the market of this coin or whatever, minted at this time. So they're in the ecosystem, which seems like quite, I guess antique is quite, it seems like there's quite a lot of criminality there.
They must be dodgy as shit.
As shit, like forgeries, etc., kind of like the art world. So that's going on. But simultaneously, it sounds like they were intimating that there are tens of thousands that are still waterlogged.
That are still down there.
Well, that's kind of what I got from that, because the fact they were saying these have been in water for centuries, or do you think they got all of them? Sorry, the other thing I love, Norwegian, they let him go. Tunisian's like, at the very end of the story, after being like, oh my God, the sting operation's so exciting. It was like, we let him go. And it goes back to Tunisia.
We let them go.
I feel like we're both just trying to do, Thor?
Yeah, we are.
We're both just doing Thor.
I don't even, we're not going to do a good Norwegian accent. But actually,
speak for yourself, sir.
But I think we need to update the story because, like you say, it's the most boring story that the antique community have tried to make sound exciting.
But I do like an art form. I like a fake Caravaggio story.
Okay. So is this why you brought it? This sort of... This does something.
I do think those are always really interesting because then you're getting into the whole, well, what has innate value? Why doesn't a fake really good Caravaggio? Why isn't that of innate value? Yeah. If it was from the same time, or let's say it's 100 years later, and they were all teams of people anyway. Yeah. It's always a wife who did it. It's always some bird who done it. Yeah. Not getting any credit. I bet you love that. Yeah. Yeah. Feels pretty pertinent for this podcast. A woman doing all the work. Yeah, this guy getting the credit. So shout out to producer Becky.
So true.
So that's what I was speaking to, actually. That's why I brought it on. So you wouldn't let me bring on a story about like a fake Caravaggio. Yeah,
well, it was from like 1998.
It's fine when Katie Norris does it. It's fine when Katie Norris brings on a 500-year-old story, but when I bring on a 20-year-old story, it's absolutely unacceptable. So I think I was looking at like fake Caravaggios because I do love those cases. And there was a really interesting art one that I didn't work on, but I knew the barrister who'd worked on it.
A case, like an art case?
A really cool art case. So I did an art case, which I can't really talk about, but there was another art case. The barrister, who's an amazing art lawyer called Henry Legg KC, he had done this really cool case.
Henry Legg?
Henry Legg.
Of course, Henry Legg KC. Of course he does art. He's an art lawyer. He was what?
He was so fit.
Henry Legg KC, art lawyer. He sounds fit.
He was so charming. Yeah. Me and the partner were like just jelly, but he was obviously amazing barrister.
So yeah, sorry, I cut you off. Tell me about the...
So there was another case that we read about, which we didn't work on, but it was so interesting, and he'd worked on it, and it was about a fake Caravaggio, and they'd x-rayed it, and they had all these interesting experts. Yeah. Oh, it was Card Shop. Am I saying that wrong? I feel like I'm saying every word wrong. Card Shop? It's not the card shop.
What, like, what were they?
It's the card shop. They had like a feather in the hat.
It's
not the card shop. It's not like the vape shop. It wasn't a Caravaggio. But...
I'm trying to think of that.
So it's Caravaggio. It was a fake Caravaggio.
They're not a company that make like birthday cards. The Card Shop.
Yeah, it was a Caravaggio called Moonpig. Is it Card Shop? There we go. Former owner of the Card Shop's losers legal case. Yeah, it's the Card Shops. And you made me doubt myself. Yes, the feather in the hat.
I'm so sorry. I understood you as saying Card Shop. And I just thought of like the works, going in there and getting I like a Moonpig type thing. So it's sort of separated.
It's a Clinton's. It's like a Clinton's cards, the Caravaggio.
Exactly.
Love.
If you open the painting in the right way, it plays Happy Birthday. It is sort of horrible.
You open it, Caravaggio's like, it's the painting.
We know this is real because when you open the painting here, it says Happy Birthday. Amazing.
But the fake ones, they don't do that.
The fake one is some sort of Taylor Swift song. Henry Legg, he's a very charming man.
I'm going to make a really tangential point. Probably because, again, I haven't slept. But I always, there's a restaurant in South London called Caravaggio's. It's a really nice, like, local Italian restaurant, okay? I've always wanted to do a sketch about, I don't know if this is going to be funny, but I think it's the funniest thing I've ever written.
I'm liking the sound of it. I think I see where this is going.
It's a really good restaurant.
Yeah.
They've now even opened a little, few doors down, like a little ice cream shop.
Okay.
All around the restaurant, there's like pictures of the, Caravaggios, not real ones, fake Caravaggios. And my idea for a sketch was that you go there and you have dinner and you're like, is that a Caravaggio? They're like, yes. Is that a Caravaggio? Yes. Is that a Caravaggio? Yeah, and it just goes on. That's the sketch.
Okay,
you don't seem up for it.
No, I like it.
No, it's just, it's a little bit surreal.
It's a bit surreal. It's a
bit surreal.
Yeah, I like that. What I thought you were going to say is you'll go there, you're outside the restaurant with Caravaggio up there, and you're like, I don't think that's a real Caravaggio.
That's funny as well. I can see why you wrote for Dead Ringers. When you wrote for Dead Ringers.
Well, you write for Dead Ringers as well?
Yeah. last series.
Yeah. Honestly, Davina, I think this is a fascinating story. I don't think that. I think that the popular mechanics have done their very best to make it sound like a very exciting, fascinating story. Davina Bentley, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. That was an absolutely brilliant news hour. Can you please, before you go, remind everyone what time and venue your Edinburgh Fringe show is on?
My Edinburgh Fringe show is called Dancing While Old. It's on 5:30 p.m. every day at the Pleasant Cellar. Please do come. It will be an amazing show. It's going to be fantastic.
Fantastic. And your Instagram handle, your social handle for people to follow you?
At Davina Bentley Comedy on Instagram.
Fantastic.
And at Davina Comedy on TikTok.
Amazing. Davina Bentley, thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.